Hello everyone and welcome to another Getting Stuff Painted, my bi-weekly update, give or take, on the miniatures I've been painting for the games we cover here on the channel. And after being a little lackluster over the Christmas season, been getting a lot done in January so far, despite the dog, of course, wanting toys thrown only when I do these videos. If I do anything else at this table, she does not care. It's specifically these videos and I don't know why. She is an oddity. Anyway, today we have a new game on the table in the form of Final Girl, which we'll talk about in a second. We have a hefty chunk from the Batman miniature game, including some of the stuff, well, it's all stuff from the Black Friday order, and then a massive chunk from another Black Friday order I put in with Modifius for Wasteland Warfare. So we've got a lot of stuff to cover from that. Don't take it as things that will definitely be in the series or anything like that, the settlement mode playthrough. Getting through stuff, just, well, kind of prioritising some stuff that's needed, but also just doing stuff that I like for instance I really like painting Protectrons, but we can talk about that when we get there. Let's start from left to right, one ball throw later. So Final Girl is another exceptionally popular solo game. I have heard about it before. I looked into it a long time ago and I thought, oh, this looks really neat, but I don't know how watchable it is on like video format, because these miniatures here, they're just a selection. I actually have the box here, hang on, of a big box of miniatures for what they did for season 1 for the game is optional. And even if you do use them, you've got the Final Girl miniature and you've got a killer. That's it. Every victim on the board is just meeples. So you don't even need these. You can play them without them, but I like having miniature representations. It was also a fun little experiment having to paint miniatures that are so small. I think these are 10mm scale, is it? Or 15mm, something like that. They're very small compared to, you know, what I usually do. So we have two of the killers from the miniature box I just showed you. This is Hans the Butcher, and I'm going to be very skeptical about any of these getting into full focus given their size, but actually that looks okay. So I use Flesh Tear Red for his apron, Militarum Green for his slacks, Black Templar for his boots, and just left his white shirt with the base paint, which I used just the usual contrast paint base this time. Oh, not Wraithbone, I'm blanking on the other one. Not Wraithbone, the other one. Whatever it's called. I can't believe I'm blanking on it and I use it for everything. Just Leadbelcher Silver for his mask, and then a copious amounts of Blood for the Blood God, the specialised blood paint that Citadel does. And some Nuln Oil over the top as well. And it's just normal black paint just to have a matte black finish on the base. And the other killer I've done so far from a different, I think they call them vignettes, or features, they call them features, vignettes, something else. This is the Poltergeist from the Poltergeist kind of parody they have done. And not much to talk about here. It's honestly just the Gloomhaven paint, I believe it's called, one of the technical range that Citadel does. There's no contrast work here. It's literally just their like spooky ghost paint. There's a green tinted one and a blue tinted one. I might be saying the green tinted one's name by mistake, but this is obviously the bluish one, and it's perfect for doing like one tone ghosts and spooky demons, and in this case a poltergeist as well. So then I also painted up two Final Girls, and this little girl is a good luck trying to get this in focus. This is an objective. She is an objective because if you do the poltergeist story, you can't kill the poltergeist because it's already dead, and the goal of the game is, you know, kill the killer usually. But in this case, you have to try and find, I think she's called Carolyn, and it was Carol Ann in the film Poltergeist, I think. So, you know, parody. But you've got to find her, and it was nice enough that they did a little miniature representing her, and she's got her hand up as if she's holding the Final Girl. Like, you could put her next to her. Although the one from the actual expansion, you get two Final Girls in each box, a killer, a location. This is one of the two from the Poltergeist expansion. Actually, their names are written on the base, hang on. Her name is Selena. I keep on wanting to say Selena, but it's not spelled Selena, it's S-E-L-E-N-A. So I think that's Selena. I used Imperial Fish Yellow for her shirt, a Krellin Green for her jeans, Nuln Oil over the top as well, and for her skin tone I used Fire Slayer Flesh, which is a very handy contrast paint if you want to do darker toned skins. I use Gilman Flesh for most others. Speaking of which, that was used on, this is Laurie, who is the, what's her name, Laurie? She's a parody of the Final Girl from Friday the 13th Part 1, essentially, is my impression of her anyway, because she's dressed like him and is a camp counselor type thing. Got a bow and arrow, I don't quite remember her name. The first Friday the 13th isn't very good. The rest are great. The first one is not good. But anyway, for her it was Yandin Yellow for her hair. That was, I think that was Aethermat. No, that was the new Frostheart for her shorts. One of the new contrast paint range. And the Snakebite Leather for her bow and arrow, and a little streak of Bow Red for her sort of trainers. I'm not quite sure what they're meant to be. I was just trying to copy some other paint jobs I found online. So that's, well, I mean, again, you don't need the miniatures to play the game at all. The miniatures are a separate purchase. But that sets me up to be able to do a couple of trial runs. Laurie versus Hans, and Selena and Carolyn versus the Poltergeist at some point. I'm actually doing so much for this channel at the moment, I'm having trouble fitting everything in that I want to play. So I'm not sure when it will be appearing. You might have seen the first episode before this, depending on how the uploads go. I'm not 100% sure. You might have though, but know that there's definitely at least one more coming, and it's just a trial run, see how it does on the channel. It's actually just a very fun game to play, whether you're recording it or not. I've played one game that's kind of like a test run, just to see how it flows, and I had fun with it. It's a very good solo game. Alright, let's move on to the Batman miniature game, and it was Grey Seer, the base paint I was blanking on. I did check, because it was driving me nuts that I couldn't remember the name of the base paint I use for everything, or 99% of things. So, let's start off with Titan Infused Joker, the new version of him, released alongside kind of upgraded versions of all the things from, or all the supervillains from Arkham Asylum, the video game. And there was an old miniature version of this that I've showed off, I think in this series actually, like a long time ago now, but very, very impressive miniature, and thankfully all the parts were there for him in it, and I had a lot of fun painting him. It was mostly just the Grey Seer left on him as his skin tone, with a little bit of striking scorpion green for his Titan infused veins and for his hair, and one of the new purples, I think it's Luxian purple, for his like tattered remains of his clothes and to hide his shame. Some snakebite leather for his belt buckle, some skeletal horde for his exposed ribs, which look very, very painful, and also of course the exposed spine, and snakebite leather as well for the Woody standing on, and I think that about covers it. Some just normal silver and a wash over the top. Very impressive miniature that does most of the work here, but just wonderful looking. Oh yeah, and while the wash was damp, I put a little bit of Black Templar on his claws because the official paint job had them being quite black. I don't remember them being that way in the game, but you know, I was copying as close as I could get to the official paint job. Very impressive miniature. We'll see him on the table at some point, I'm sure, and see how he does. Well, we've already seen how he does because I've used this stat card before, but this time it will have the proper miniature, and it's very fun, and I like the look of it. Super simple thing from the Deacon Blackfire side of stuff. This is his totem. I think it's called a totem in game terms, but it comes with Deacon Blackfire himself, and it has gameplay mechanics. I just did this real quick. It's snakebite leather because I wasn't sure if it was meant to be made of stone, wood, or something else. Oops. In the official paint job, but I think I matched it up pretty well actually. So I did snakebite leather. I mixed in wildwood around the base to give it kind of a two-tone look. Non-oil over the top when I was done, and the slime is what I'm using for all the sewer water, like I did with Killer Croc last time. So that is Warp Lightning, and a little bit of Striking Scorpion, I think, just to match kind of like the slime and mold in the official paint job, and a little bit of Imperial Fish Yellow on the candles here. For such a simple thing, I'm actually kind of happy with how it turned out and how close to the official paint job it turned out as well. Also, from the Deacon Blackfire side of stuff is his, I think it was called his Lieutenant's box. We have not Frank Miller, who I think is called like Jake something, and we have Ratface. Ratface is real easy to remember because his face looks like a rat. But I did these in this order, so let's cover Not Frank Miller first. One of the lieutenants for Deacon Blackfire. He's one of his recruiters, has a bunch of support roles, not very strong. He also has the only gun in the entire crew. And I'm really happy with how this one turned out, with how close to the paint job it turned out. I used Skeletal Horde for his trench coat, but I quickly went over it with wash while it was still damp. And the official paint job has it kind of like, it's a worn down, you know, he's a tramp. So it's a worn down trench coat, so I mixed in some rust and some wildwood just to make it look really horrible, because it's meant to. That is Warp Lightning for the Ace Chemicals vat, with a little bit of Army Painter rust as well, which is what I used on his trench coat there. Oops, I knocked Ratface over almost. And like I did for Killer Croc, I've been using that, it's Gargag Sewer, whatever it's called, just for as the theme for all the Deacon Blackfire miniatures. It works. It doesn't even need to look like a sewer, it just kind of looks like a grimy alley colour, and it's perfect for that. And that's where these people kind of dwell and do their nefarious things from. So I really liked that. I used Basilicum Grey for his hair, darkened down a little bit with a teeny bit of black while it was still damp, and I just used the black on his gloves to match the official paint job, and Snake-bite leather for the rats, one of which is sadly deceased, so it has a little bit of blood on it. But that's about it. I'm really happy with how that model turned out. I'm not usually happy with how my paint jobs turn out, but like the totem and him, I think they did pretty well. So here we have Ratface. If you're curious, when I was talking about Ratface in the final update regarding the Black Friday order, I got 2 sets of these cardboard boxes when you shouldn't have them, as far as I can tell. So I've actually used it on a different miniature that you'll see in the future when I get around to painting them. But I like the action shot of like Ratface busting out and knocking the bin over, knocking the boxes over, chasing the rats away. I think there's a police hat. I painted it like a police hat because to me it looked like one. Like there's a cop's hat just sitting there as well, which implies maybe he's already stabbed someone. So again, really good pose, a load of detail, and I love that it's an action shot and it doesn't look like the Red Robin miniature they did where it looks like he's tripping over a bin. This looks like he's kicked it out of the way, which is fun. And all the discarded newspapers and bags and whatnot. So I believe I used Bal Red for his jacket, and that was Space Wolves Grey for his jeans, a wash over the top because he is grimy, Gilliman Flesh, Black Templar for his hair, and Leadbelcher Silver for his Halloween axe. I apologise if that was not in focus, I just saw it trying to auto-focus something in the background there, which I should not be doing. But there we go, there's a look at him. Very fun, these 2 miniatures. Still not going to be seeing Blackfire on the table for a long time, despite these being done, because along with the Deacon himself, I've still got like 8 goons, because you have to run 12 of them unless you include the Cult Batman, which is not being done yet. So it'll be a little while before the Murder Hobos make their debut, but they will be coming. Pretty sure when I was throwing that ball for the dog there, I knocked the camera a little bit, so this shot will not be lined up. Whatever. Now we're on to the last thing today, a whole bunch of stuff for Fallout Wasteland Warfare by Modiphius, part of an order I put in with them towards the end of the year as well. So we have, to start with, 2 Yao Guais. I might be pronouncing that wrong, I apologise if I am. Standard one, and then I can't remember if it's called a radiator or glowing. He's got radiation powers, you know. So for him I had a similar issue to the Brahmin that we talked about last time, where they're very pink in the skin tone, but I don't have any colour that does that justice. So I used Volupus Pink, but I tried to water it down a little bit. I might have got away with it this time, I think. Maybe a little bit. Then I used just a standard yellow paint, not contrast or anything like that, to have his boils highlighted, because they're very boily. They've got lots of... They need them popped. That's some wildwood for what's left of his fur there. The dog is underneath me crying. This is our new strategy. Like, she's literally just under me, under the tripod of the camera, whining because I'm not throwing a toy. This is an escalation. I want you to know that. Let's see, what else? Mixture of wildwood and snakebite leather for the trees and the base. Had a little bit of struggle again with the Modiphius paint, or Modiphius resin, not taking well to contrast at all. A little bit frustrating, especially because this is the... Yeah, this is 2020 lines, which usually is not as bad as their older stuff, but still had a little bit of frustration there. And for the glowing one, it was much the same, with the exception of no pink. Instead, it was all wildwood, and then while it was damp, I mixed in Striking Scorpion to varying degrees in their little cuts and whatnot to show they're glowing. And I think I used a different colour for their boils, because the official paint job has them being slightly undertoned, but I don't remember the name of the colour I used for them. I think it was Ulgar Flesh. It's one of the really old Citadel Flesh colours, like standard paints. I think it's Ulgar Flesh. I might be misremembering. Something like that. I'm pretty sure it began with a U. It's a very kind of like creamy skin tone colour. And it worked well for kind of a yellowish mushroom-like boils that the poor bear has on his skin. So, very fun miniatures. You don't realise how big these things are in the video game, I feel. Like, I know they're quite large, but when you fight stuff like Deathclaws and stuff, it doesn't make them seem nearly as imposing. But like, when you see them next to like a man-sized thing, it's like, oh, they are actually quite intimidating. They're descended from black bears, so I suppose it makes sense. So next we have the Protectron workers, and like I said at the top of the video, I just really like the Protectron design, so I'm glad Modiphius brought out a pack that had the variants, i.e. the maintenance one. I think he's called Utility Protectron, but either way, I love their designs. This one has a nail gun and just has a warning light in the video game. I think he's the first one you can run into, depending on which direction you leave the sanctuary from in Fallout 4. So apart from Lead Belcher Silver doing most of the work here, this was Imperial Fists Yellow, and then a big old helping of Agrat's Shade, which is going to be common amongst all these because it's the post-apocalypse and nobody showers. This is just the standard Protectron they already had, but it's in the pack so that you can paint it. I think actually the top is different, very slightly, just so you can paint him like a cop Protectron. I don't remember their official name. Tried very hard to draw a star, but it looks like a 4-year-old did it, so it's not that great. But from a distance it looks okay. And for the blue for him, I think I used Frostheart again, I think. Because it doesn't look dark enough to be Talisar, so I think I did. And I'm glad I did, because it matches up to how they look in the game pretty well. And then we have the Fireman Protectron, who is meant to have like an orange shield. I tried to hint at it, it didn't really come out. They have a different shaped head as well to kind of look like a fireman helmet. And I used Bal Red for that, with a little bit of Blood Angels Red mixed in as well, I believe. And he's on a pure metal base, so it's just Lead Belcher Silver with some rust on it as well. And again, Agrat's Shade for everything Wasteland Warfare connected, because nobody showers. Not even the robots. And to end on, we have another pack they released, which was a Mr. Well, it's not. I don't remember the name of the pack because it's not a Mr. Handy pack, because you don't just get a Mr. Handy. You get a Mr. Handy, you get a Mr. Gutsy, and you get a Miss Nanny, who you can also double up as Curie if you wanted to do that. And you might be noticing this one here is lower than the other two. That's because I accidentally broke off too much of it from the sprue. It's meant to have a little bit of a pull, so it looks like it's flowing. So this one's just kind of looking like it's landed. Not much to say about this one because it's just silver. It's just silver and grey with a wash over the top. It's basically the same miniature as the one I use as Pennyworth in the Settlement series, aka Codsworth. So this is just your bog standard Mr. Handy. But then you have these two variants. So for Miss Nanny's / Curie, her metal is kind of white, so I used Apothecary White as much as I don't really like it. I used the new grey tone / white tone wash that Citadel released alongside their newest contrast paints. I don't remember the name of it offhand, but something grey. I used that over the top as well before doing Agrat's to give her that kind of rusted look. Turned out okay, I think. Probably not quite white enough for the Miss Nannies, but you can tell the difference between that and the standard silver, I hope. At least I hope it's being picked up on the camera. For the fire effects, it's just a little bit of Gryph-hound orange and the Yandin yellow, and I tried to like hint at it as reflecting on the metal a little bit, just a little bit, just add a little bit of like depth to it. Not quite sure if it worked out well or not. Then we have the Mr. Gutsy. In the pack you also get 2 bowler hats, so I put one on this one because I thought that was hilarious. I don't know, wait, you get 3. You can actually put a hat on all 3. But I'm saving those other 2 hats for future projects. I don't know what future projects, but I'm just thinking, oh, maybe one day I'll want a little hat I can put on something to be funny. So I've got 2 more of those sitting around, and I put one on the Mr. Gutsy, who's got a slightly better looking star on him than the Protectron there. And you get all the same, like you can customize sort of, but you get the same 3 limb types. You could just change who has however many of what. So it's not as customizable in the pack as I would have liked. They are listening to feedback though, and more of the packs they have coming in future waves are offering more customization options. Like I think it's the Railroad or the Children of Atom, maybe both. I think they have weapon options for like the first time ever, so you don't need to have them all uniform with like railway rifles. You can give some of them standard weapons and whatnot. So they're listening to feedback, which is honestly very refreshing. And that is going to do it for another Getting Stuff Painted, so I can go throw the ball for the dog and whatnot. If you want to show me what you've been painting, feel free to do so on Twitter. It is linked in the description box below or on the channel page and all that good stuff. It doesn't need to be a game I'm playing as well, I don't mind. And I hope this helped inspire you to get through your pile of grey shame. There's certainly a lot to work through for me, but that's on purpose, honestly. I wanted a lot of stuff just to put my head down and work through. Next time you will definitely be seeing you'll be seeing Wasp from the Marvel Zombie box, because she's currently on the table, about halfway done at this point, so she'll definitely be in the next one. A couple of Batman miniatures for sure, some more Wasteland Warfare for sure. Not necessarily more Final Girl yet. There is, again, that box, there's plenty of minis left in here to do, but I'm just taking it as I need it, essentially, because they don't take long to paint when they're that small. But so it's unlikely you'll see more of them, but I'll talk more about Final Girl when we actually play it. I am trying to fit it in. As I say, after a very slow November, December, I was starting the new year thinking, well, I'll try and slowly ratchet up back to doing quite a few videos for the tabletop channel, but there's just so much stuff I want to play on it right now, and some of it is doing well, that I'm having trouble fitting everything in. But it's a good problem to have, I guess, but just bear with it, and I'll try and fit everything I want to fit in. Eventually we'll run out of Marvel Zombie Campaign, so that'll kind of clear up the space, and as you all are probably aware, you'll be seeing the opening to the new Fallout season tomorrow, assuming you see this on Thursday, so look forward to that. Thank you very much for watching though. Get your stuff painted. It does not matter if you're a good painter as long as you enjoy it. That's the important part. It's very relaxing. And until next time, ta for now.